Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, good evening.
Good evening. You
Okay,
probably have
my
three
name is...
devices on. You've got an echo. You need to cut off one of them. Sound on one of them.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm using my phone, my laptop, I think the mic is not working. But all the same, thank you very much for everyone who has managed to join today. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay. I think apologies to start 12 minutes late. At least we have a sufficient number of people online, and not to waste too much time, I would invite Her Excellency the High Commissioner of Zambia to the UK, Macenje Mazoka, to give an opening remarks. Afterwards, we're going to have the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, who will also give a statement about this wonderful program. And thereafter, we'll proceed into the presentations. Your Excellency, High Excellency is ready to speak to us. Please, you can go ahead, Your Excellency, to issue or to open for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Program Director. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on unlocking investment opportunities for the Zambian diaspora, organized in partnership with the Lusaka Securities Exchange. I warmly welcome all participants joining us from the United Kingdom. The strong and enduring connection between Zambia and her diaspora, a connection that remains vital to our national development. I'm also pleased to recognize our guest speaker, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, Chief Executive Officer of the Lusaka Securities Exchange, and we thank him for joining us this evening. This conversation comes at a very important time. The diaspora has a very important role to play, not only as a community of skilled and accomplished Zambians abroad, but also as a meaningful partner in investment, innovation, and economic growth at home. The Lusaka Securities Exchange offers a valuable platform for building wealth, mobilizing capital, and supporting enterprise. By better understanding the opportunities that are available, the diaspora can participate more confidently and more effectively in Zambia's economic transformation. I therefore encourage all participants to engage fully in this session, ask questions, and make the most of the insights that will be shared this evening. Once again, thank you to the Lusaka Securities Exchange for this partnership, and thank you to my team at the Zambia High Commission in London, and thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for this wonderful conversation and discussion. I now have the honor of inviting Mr. Nicholas Kabaso to deliver his remarks. I thank you.
So thank you very much, Your Excellency, Madam Mazoka, for those very warm remarks to get us started for this particular event. Allow me also to just register our sincere pleasure and gratitude for being hosted by yourselves, and also to allow us to speak to the diaspora community that is sitting in the UK and possibly even across. And we are very enlightened to be able to just share some of these few points that can help us to redirect some of our efforts from the diaspora into our local market. So as I begin, obviously I've got a few slides that I'm going to share with yourselves. But just allow me also at this particular point to just, acknowledge the huge contribution that we are seeing coming through from the diaspora community. We do realize that most of us are sending money back home to be able to finance our various sort of needs, both for our families and also for our extended sort of needs. But beyond just us remitting those particular funds, we actually have seen this particular conversation we're having today to be quite very timely for obvious reasons. Whilst we're doing these contributions and remittances back to Zambia, the most important question that we must be able to address, even in this particular discussion, is obviously how do we then let these monies, transform the lives of the people that we're having back here in Zambia? And how do we also incentivize our local markets to be able to look beyond our current, needs and look into the long-term sort of future to allow us then to build very strong businesses, build stronger financial institutions, build stronger infrastructure, and most importantly, allow us then to be able to accommodate for a stronger economy that is more resilient, especially if you have to look at some of the dynamics globally. So that obviously gives us a very, important positioning for us to be able to get to see how do we tap into these reserves of savings that are sitting with yourselves in the diaspora and community, and how do we redirect those efforts back, here in Zambia. So pretty much that's sort of a thesis that we want to be able to look into and allow us then to discuss very candidly the conversation around how do we bring some of these savings back into Zambia and where are the opportunities sitting to allow us then to be able to direct yourselves into coming into our local market. So at this particular point, allow me to just share my slides that will just give you a bit of a lead in terms of what we are talking about. But what is obviously important is the very fact that I'll be presenting this particular, presentation with colleagues of mine from the exchange that are going to come through at some point, later. So to begin with, let me just focus on the most important aspect of, our investment landscape, and that potentially has to do with, the macroeconomic environment. One thing that we acknowledge from the perspective of the exchange is that investment decisions are obviously going to be driven by confidence. So if you, as our colleagues in the diaspora and community, do not have confidence in our market, that potentially can shake the possible, redirection of some of those remittances back to Zambia. And what is obviously important is the very fact that if we have got confidence in our country's financial institutions and we have also got confidence in our macroeconomic direction, that will also give you further incentive for you to be able to support, investment back in Zambia. Now, obviously, if you have to look at where we're coming from as a country, the country obviously has gone through some leaps and bounds in terms of growth. What we're seeing on the slide there just gives you a sense in terms of just how very strong some of these macroeconomic fundamentals are. And the most recent one that we're looking at is our GDP growth in 2024. Obviously, the latest update that we got from our statistics agency is that Q1 for 2026 saw an uplift of about 7.7% growth in GDP. And that already gives you quite a very strong positioning of how the economy is moving. If you have to look at the trends, obviously going back even the last 5 to 6 years, we must be able to acknowledge that Zambia's economic growth has been sitting north of 4%. And that obviously gives you a very strong sort of sense in terms of how aggressive the economy has been. Now, we are highlighting that obviously on the back of trying to drive a lot of confidence for those of you who are sitting outside the country, to be able to look now backwards in terms of how then can we support our local economy with our remittances and also grow our infrastructure as we send these monies back home. Now, what obviously has led to this particular strong growth in our macroeconomic fundamentals, we must be able to state that most of our policy framework has actually been sitting in a very good positioning. Our monetary policy has actually been handshaking our fiscal policy, and we have seen a lot of fiscal discipline on the part of the government. and that potentially has positioned our inflation to come down. We have also seen a very stronger currency positioning compared to our international currencies. And if you have to look at the overall policy credibility, that also has engineered a lot of support from the international community in terms of just how very strong the growth prospects are. So if you have to look at some of the things that we're looking at from our perspective, where we are seeing a very strong policy pronouncement, if you have to look at the 8th National Development Plan, there's been a very strong steer by the government to be able to move away from a huge domestic market, borrowing into a more public-private partnership sort of arrangement to just merely help us to align these fundamentals around inflation and also how our interest rate outlook looks like. And from that, we've been able to get to see some very good successes. And obviously, the debt issue has also been almost resolved. That also helps us to get to see that the sovereign risk that's sitting on Zambia has also been somewhat moderated. Now, moving on to the next part of the presentation of the slide, it just gives you an appreciation of what we are also seeing on the overall landscape. Now, the next part of the slide there gives you a positioning of just where we are sitting with respects to the fundamentals of where the market was sitting. Now, the exchange obviously has been riding two very unique markets. We are in charge, obviously, of equity market. We are also in charge of the secondary bond trading on the market. And that also, these are the two prominent sort of spaces of investment opportunities, as well as investment, sort of interplay that we have with our various, investors. Now, specific to the aspect of our equity market, which obviously positioned the LuSE as at last year, August, to be the best performing market globally, we did get to see that 2025 was our stellar performer. We were able to deliver for our investors a return in excess of about 100%, if you have to look at it in dollar cents. In local currency terms, we delivered to all our investors 68% returns. And that's obviously using the metric of the all-share index. Now, if we have to look at some of the unique, metrics that we scored during the course of the year, we were able to register some very strong performers around, market capitalization. Some of our bigger conglomerates were able to hit $1 billion, dollars market cap. The first one obviously was our CEC, following which was CMIH, and earlier on this year we had Zambia Sugar, and just most recently we had our telecom Airtel, hitting the next 1 billion. Now you might be wondering, why are we so particular about some of these, metrics? It's for obvious reasons, especially for those of our colleagues that are sitting out of the country. It just gives you a lot of confidence, like we spoke earlier, as to how deep our markets are and as to how sophisticated our markets are becoming. The very fact that we're able to get 1 billion market capitalized stocks on our market gives you a lot of confidence that we're able to, attract additional capital that can help us then to be able to deploy it across other productive sectors of our economy. And we've got, a showcase points like these same 1 billion market capitalized stocks that we have. In terms of our performance for the year 2025, going back to the fact that we're a stellar performer last year, we were ranked among the top 3 best performers across the world. And that already gives you a sense in terms of just how very attractive our local market, remains. Now, what was driving that performance for the most part last year? Like I did make mention earlier, we have continued to see increasing investor confidence in our market, and most because we see the trajectory of growth of our economy is hitting in the right direction. We continue to see very good positioning of our local currency compared to our international currencies. And that potentially also has helped in the valuation of these companies, and has also helped in terms of, the growth prospect on the corporate earnings. The other component that obviously has been driven the rally in our market has been the very fact that we've seen a very disciplined fiscal and monetary policy convergence, and that potentially has also been, reviewed in some of the useful statistics around inflation, our interest rates falling, and our fixed income market has been tending downwards, positioning therefore our equity market for takeoff. The other component that we must be able to attribute our growth to has been the growth around our direct market access. So for the longest time, the market has been quite, very vanilla, with the entry points being our brick and mortar. But what we have done, obviously, as a strategic intent as an exchange, has been the need for us to be able to use technology to be able to drive more activity to the market. And at the same time, we see the fact that, much of our capital gains that we saw in the previous few years were also, being, attributed to the liquidity premiums. Now, obviously, what we mean there is the very fact that since we've got a slight imbalance between the bid and the offer, and the market remains quite relatively illiquid, we tend to see that even most of the trades that are coming through on the market and therefore repricing the share prices has been on the back of, the illiquidity in the market, and therefore investors are trading on the liquidity premium. So part and parcel of some of these conversations around the share, gains were coming on the back of some of these particular, fundamentals that were within our market. But that being said, it does not take away the fact that our market remains quite a very, huge opportunity for investors that are looking for equity. It also remains a very useful market for those of you who are looking for, debt instruments. And we'll touch on some of the opportunities during the course of our presentation. Now, if you have to look at the fixed income market, like I did make mention earlier, we have actually seen that government's discipline around, local market borrowing has actually helped us to get to see that the yields on the fixed income markets are tending downwards. If you have to look at where we're coming from, sometime in the early 2020s, where we are in the highs of about 38% per annum on average across most of the fixed income market tenors. Now, as we speak right now, these particular yields across board have literally come down. We are speaking about 15-year bonds now sitting, below 20%, yielding about 17.5%. And that gives you a sense that we see now the proper convergence between monetary policy as well as fiscal policy. Now, what this particular positioning has done is it has opened up the equity market for takeoff, because now investors such as yourselves are looking at where else can you tap into the market for additional, wealth creation, for additional yields that can be over and above the fixed income market. And that's the reason why we continue to see a rally behind, the equity market. But obviously, the business case for us, even as we speak to you today, is around where we are sitting in terms of the seller as well as the buyer position in our market. Currently, our market is in a seller position, meaning there are a lot of investors that are looking to be able to exit their position. And therefore, for those of you who have not entertained our local market, this is about the time where we need you to be able to enter our market and participate quite very actively in buying some of the positions that are being offloaded onto the market. And as we speak right now, the opportunity to entry is quite very huge because of the mismatch that we're seeing between the bid and the offer, between the buyers and as well as the sellers. So from where we're sitting, we continue to see quite a good number of the stocks that we have on the market being undervalued, giving you a potential upside as investors should you then come into the market. And I think that is a very important case point that would wish to leave on your tables in terms of why we need you to come actively in our local market. So in terms of the road ahead, between the macroeconomic environment as well as the global economic environment, what we're seeing obviously from the Zambian perspective is that the successful closure to the IMF program will continue to position us for a huge takeoff over the next few years. We continue to see some very wonderful policy pronouncements around energy. We continue to see some very wonderful pronouncements around extractive, industry, where we're seeing now the critical mineral story becoming the topical point of call, even for the government to allow more investors to come into the country. And that is obviously a unique positioning for those of you who are sitting out of the country for you to enter the market. Now is a better positioning for you to be able to start looking for investments, because the country is literally now on a takeoff, positioning. And for those of you who are looking for opportunities, now is a better time for you to start now getting to hunt for where you can then be able to invest. And in that vein, I must be able to state that, you know, the spectrum of opportunities are quite very wide. And some of these are sitting within our listed companies on the exchange. Others are sitting within the government securities. For those of you who are looking for, you know, low, risk, investments. We also have a lot of appetite on the debt side through the corporate bonds and the collective investment schemes. For those of you who are also remitting funds for, you know, families, you can take advantage of the collective investment schemes just as a way of trying to ensure that your investments are also being managed by a dedicated fund manager. In terms of the future, one thing that we can be able to, assure you of is that the infrastructure space is heating up quite very aggressively. Talk about energy, talk about the road network, talk about any other sort of infrastructure. We are seeing a lot of hype in terms of demand. Now, that obviously calls for you in the diaspora as a source of pooled capital, to be able to come into our market and invest. Now, having said some of those particular opportunities that are sitting in our market, we must be able to assure you that the capital markets engine is actually performing at its best as we speak right now. And that's the reason why we are very happy to be given this particular call to speak to your audience, because we do realize you're the only ones who can help us then to move beyond where we are now. Now, just to give you a sense in terms of how we have been moving over the last 5 years, for instance, our compound annual growth rate is sitting about 46% per annum. Now, if you had invested in the market for the last 5 years, you will be able to agree with me that you'll be sitting at over 200% of your, capital invested in the market. Now, that is potentially a unique opportunity of investment that you'll not be able to get to see anywhere and on an ordinary, basis. And that's the reason why today our energies are quite very high. We want you to be able to look, back to, Zambia, where these funds can be deployed. The returns are quite very competitive and will allow you to turn around your capital within quite some very remarkable, period of time. Now, the opportunity also is because we want that liquidity that you're sitting with to be redirected here. Now, if your investments as the diaspora community is directed to Zambia, you help us then to be able to resolve some of the illiquidity that we've been able to see in our market. You also give us incentive to be able to drive more products to market, because now we know the demand is there. Now, just to give you perspective of why we're crying out loud in terms of deepening our liquidity, some of our neighboring countries like Zimbabwe, we are actually getting more than 40% of their remittances coming through from the diaspora community. Now, if we too can be able to mobilize these savings and start redirecting them to some of the investment opportunities here in Zambia, you'll definitely be able to help us to deepen our market. We'll not have to be able to start now running into other markets for the sake of trying to raise additional capital when we can rely on some of these remittances back home. The other component, obviously, why our emotions are quite high speaking to you today, is because we want to broaden our market reach. So far, we've been able to get to see quite a very aggressive uptake of SMEs coming to market trying to raise money. The only way we can then be able to support these businesses to be able to raise money is if some of the remittances coming from your direction can then be invested in these products. A good case in point that we're able to show a case to the market. Last year, we had the first alternative market listing where an SME came to market and it was oversubscribed on the basis of retail participants. And that's why we're seeing a lot of hype. And if we can get even more of your participation into our market, we can then be able to start now issuing, listings almost on a regular basis. And the comfort that you have as a result of us being the regulators, we'll be able to give you additional comfort that the regulation, the rules, and the legal framework will continue to apply to help you to be able to have comfort around where you're placing your investments. Lastly, we must be able to state why we are actually very, emphatic around trying to get to mobilize some of these diaspora funds is to help us translate that confidence into our market. Now, rising corporate earnings, a strengthening kwacha, and the compressing bond yield market gives you a lot of opportunity to be able to uptake a lot of equity products onto our market. And we can be able to turn around our market quite very easily if at all we participate, from where we are sitting. So having said all these things, let me end and just give my colleagues a bit of time to also come in and speak to some of the other slides. But the call to action really is this. As we're speaking to you, we are obviously not fishing from, very far, from very far off. We believe that you as a Zambian community that is sitting quite very vantage point from where you are, you can truly help us to direct some of that capital into our market. There are various opportunities of capital needs, like I did make mention earlier. We've got infrastructure, we've got equities, we've got bonds, we've got entities currently in the market that are looking to raise additional capital. If we can then start talking actively with the diaspora community to redirect some of those savings into our market, you will help us to liquidate the market quite very ably, and we'll be able to position ourselves quite very strongly compared to some of our peers. So a Zambian opportunity truly, as we speak today, is quite huge and immense. The question that all of us in the diaspora must be able to ask ourselves is, will you and I be able to seize these opportunities that we're seeing in our market? Currently, as a LuSE, we've been writing a narrative where we're saying the only way Zambians will own the economy is only if they're active participants in the capital markets. You deploy those particular savings, we'll then be able to assist you to direct them into productive areas of need. So therefore, I encourage you to become more than just supporters of Zambia's economic growth, become the investor that we're looking for, become the shareholder we're looking for, become that bondholder who is going to support the businesses that are raising debt on this particular market. So by becoming partners in financing Zambia's next chapter, we are so very definite as an exchange, you truly help us to transform our economic direction. So the future of Zambia will not only be built within our own local borders, it will also be shaped by the millions of you who are sitting out of the country and who can then be able to support us. Even as we bring these products to market, we need those particular pools of savings to come in and help us then to be able to support these issuances to close on a high, and also help to redeem the image of the country that we too have got products, we too have got liquidity, and that we too have got the depth that can attract capital from wherever it's sitting. That for me will be the emotional core of action I'll give to you. And I would truly wish to get to see, even after this particular core, we start talking about structure. Where can we deploy these funds, and how can we as an exchange support you in deriving as much value as you possibly can from your investment? So let me pause there and allow my colleague in legal to just transition quite very ably into the next part of this presentation that just gives you a very good sense in terms of where are we sitting within the market's regulatory framework. Namnyuka, over to you.
Thank you very much, CEO, and good evening, everybody. I think as the CEO has rightly alluded to, the opportunity is immense within the market, and for yourselves to then come on and proceed with your investment opportunities. And what's critical as we look at our investment opportunities is whether our investment is actually safe. As we are coming onto the market, where is the regulatory framework? How are we actually seated within the legal framework? So for starters, the importance is that the LuSE is a regulated space. We are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Zambia. This then entails that pursuant to the Securities Act and its subsidiary legislation, the commission comes through for inspections. It ensures that everything that's been undertaken on the market is undertaken at a high level, a level that's actually protecting the investor. That's really the starting point. But in addition, there's certain players that sit directly under the LuSE. So the structure is such that the LuSE is licensed as what is called a self-regulatory organization. And in this regard, a self-regulatory organization is an organization under the Securities Act that ensures that the business conduct of its members is actually properly regulated. So in this regard, when we talk about our members, we're talking about, on the one hand, our listed companies, and on the other hand, our brokers. So what's important as you look to invest is the fact that the LuSE actually regulates both parties that then you'll be interacting with. Because as you come onto the market, you're dealing with your broker, and we regulate those. And as you're purchasing your shares, you're dealing with the listed company because you become their shareholder, and we also regulate that. As it pertains to the broker, importantly, we look at certain key elements, ensuring that their accounts are separate. Okay, their accounts for operations and their client funds are kept separate and segregated. And in this regard, we ensure that we conduct ongoing inspections on these brokers, ensure that they're actually compliant, ensuring that settlement takes place in a timely manner on a delivery versus payment basis, and ensuring that really the investor is protected from the perspective of the LuSE. So it's very important that as you put in your funds, as you invest, you do understand that your funds are kept segregated, importantly, and they're also kept in such a manner that your delivery versus payment will take place at the point of settlement. What's also important, I think, from the perspective of the listed companies is to understand that we have provided them with certain ongoing obligations. And these ongoing obligations are what they must adhere to as they stay on the market for your benefit as investors. So the starting point is to ensure that all price-sensitive information is disclosed to yourselves in a timely manner. And that's a right that you have as investors. So even something as trivial as a change in a director is something that must be announced to the public, because that could influence your investment decision. A change in a chief executive officer is something you get to know about in the immediate, because it's something that could affect your investment decision. We'll have situations where there's a transaction that needs to be undertaken by the particular listed company. At a certain threshold, these transactions must be brought to yourselves as investors to actually approve them. And if these transactions are being undertaken with a related party, only yourselves as minority investors are the ones who vote on the transaction. So the ball comes into your court, because we do understand that that right should sit with yourselves because you are not a related party. So we have put in certain key elements to ensure that as you invest your money, you can exercise your rights to vote. You can also exercise your rights as it pertains to receiving your dividends in a timely manner, and criticalities as well around receiving your financials in a timely manner, ensuring that all the changes that take place in your earning per share above a certain threshold are adequately communicated to you in a timely manner. So what's important really as we look at the market and as you then look to invest is the fact that it is an actual regulated space. It's got key elements that protect you as investors from the perspective of the broker, but also from the perspective of the listed company. What's also very important when you look at it from the perspective of the listed company is the fact that should there be any information as it pertains to the business that amounts to it being price sensitive, this is something that's communicated to you by cautionary announcement in a very timely manner. So you know what's going on in the business so that you can actually exercise your rights in terms of your investment opportunities, whether you stay within the business or whether you exit the business. It's also important to understand that you always have a broker on hand to guide your investment decision should you need to. That then helps you in deciding which company then you stick with and for what duration and at what point you then maximize on your investment. And I think as CEO stated, it is an opportune time to come into the market because a lot of the stocks we have on the market are currently undervalued. So you come in at this particular point and maximize on your investment in a well-structured manner. So what's important, I think, even as I get to a point of concluding, is the fact that from the legal and regulatory framework, you are highly protected. You have got the Securities and Exchange Commission looking out for you. You've got the LuSE looking at its brokers, looking at its listed companies to make sure that your rights are actually protected and that you're actually benefiting from the investment that you've actually made. So in a nutshell, really, we do have various legislation. We've got the Securities Act, we've got the listing rules, we've got trading rules that will also guide you in terms of exactly where your protection comes in. The fact that within 3 days, your settlement will take place and you're able then to receive your funds in a timely manner. So all those parameters have been set in place from the perspective of the Commission, as well as the perspective of the LuSE. So really that's the way the regulatory framework of the LuSE is sitting as it pertains to the capital markets. I'll hand it over to Grace, our Business Development Manager, to just run through additional elements as it pertains to this particular webinar. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Namnyuka. By way of introduction, my name is Grace Soko. I am the Business Development Manager here at the Lusaka Securities Exchange, and we're very excited to be here with you this evening. We set the tone perfectly by having the opening remarks by our CEO, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, and the main takeaway from his presentation would be, now is the best time for you to jump in to investing on the LuSE. Namnyuka, our head of legal and company secretary, just finished her presentation on the regulatory framework. This is just to give you added comfort on the level of protection that investors have. So for my portion of the presentation, I will be taking you through how to actually invest on the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Mr. Kabaso started off by talking about how access to the market has become easier than ever. We do have a LuSE mobile app that you can use to transact and to invest onto the Lusaka Securities Exchange. We do have 10 licensed brokers that are actually on the call. Some of the representatives are with us. Thank you so much for sparing the time to log in. So they will be able to assist and give guidance should there be specific questions for those of you who are listening in. So simple steps, if you are going through the LuSE mobile app, we do request that you have your ID nearby, which is your NRSC. We will also ask for a clear selfie for you to upload. A common question that we get quite a bit is, can I proceed without choosing a broker? Unfortunately, the app in its current state does not allow you to go through that, and that is also part of our rules as the LuSE. You do need to register through a licensed broker. For diaspora investors, you can still do this remotely. You do not need to be in country. Please just ensure that you do have a working Zambian bank account, as well as a working Zambian registered number, ideally Airtel or MTN Money. This is simply to help you top up your wallet, which can be done at the moment. We've activated it on MTN, Airtel, as well as through your bank. As we continue to develop in this area of digital access, we should be able to make it a lot easier for you outside of the country. Should you need to link a card that's outside of Visa, we will be able to work on that. As far as choosing a licensed broker, we do have a resource on the LuSE website where you are able to see the full list of the 10 licensed brokers, as well as their contact details. All that you need to do is click where it says speak to a broker, and the contact details will pop up. Like I mentioned, we do have a few representatives from the brokerage community in on this call, and they will be able to answer questions as we get to the end for the Q&A question, should you have a specific question. With regards to placing your order, as we move away from brick and mortar, where previously, for those of you who have traded, we had to go through the route of filling in your order forms, submitting it with your broker by email or in person, you can now do this via the app. So on the app, you do need to specify which company or entity that you are investing into. You will click it from a drop-down list, indicate the quantity, as in the number of shares that you'd like to buy, and also be very sensitive to the fact that we do have a pre-auction order book that you can actually visit. All that you need to do on our website, there is a section where it says Market View. You are able to take a look at the order book, and you're also able to see the prices moving in real time. And this will assist you in what entity or company that you're going to invest in, as well as the price selection. As you are placing your order, please also take note of the different order types or time in force. This will also affect the success of your order. We currently have 4 different options. We've got immediate or cancel, we have fill or kill, we have good till date, and we also have day order. When you select fill or kill or immediate or cancel, you are essentially placing an order in the market where if it is not fully matched or you're not able to find a willing seller who's willing to match your price as well as the number of shares that you'd like to order, it will automatically cancel. So as you are selecting your order types, please take these different order types into consideration as well as the time in force, meaning how long it will remain active in the system. Settlement at the moment is still at T+3. This simply means that trades will settle 3 business days after execution or after matching. What this generally entails is on the app, it will show that your order is matched. The money will be deducted from your wallet, but as far as updating on your portfolio, you will need to wait for 3 business days. Of course, as customer service, we are on hand to assist you should there be any challenge outside of the 3 working days. Your securities are held electronically in what's called a CSD account. This just enables or gives you more security in the sense that your money is safe and it is sitting in a secure account that we're managing. As far as tracking your portfolio, this can be done via the LuSE mobile app. You will be able to see the shares that you bought. You will be able to see the number of shares that you have as well as the total value. You'll also be able to see the cash that you have available to make another investment. As far as your dividend and your corporate action notifications, these are the disclosures that Namnyuka was speaking about earlier, where a company is able to let you know when there's a dividend declaration. There is a communication platform called SENS, which allows us to send information to you directly to your email. This is a service that you can actually subscribe to. Also, please keep an eye out on our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as on LinkedIn. You just have to search for Lusaka Securities Exchange. We constantly share information just to keep the investor public informed. As far as capital raising and trading opportunities on the LuSE, Mr. Kabaso spoke very clearly about this as far as your 2025 market performance. We're quite happy about how we've been top 3 in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years in African markets. And as at August, we were the best performing stock market in the world. So if you need any more motivation to join in on the investor community for the LuSE, no better motivation exists. As far as the alternative market is what Mr. Kabaso alluded to, which was designed specifically for SMEs. We realize that SMEs are the backbone of our economy, and we're also aware of the fact that our investors in the diaspora, not only are you looking for opportunities to buy shares, there's also an opportunity for you to list your companies. Capital raising is one of the core mandates of the LuSE, and the alternative market was designed to speak specifically to SMEs. We do have lower listing thresholds. We have actually come into a phase where we're trying to encourage more listings on the alternative market. We have waived off the listing fees for the first 10 companies to come onto the alternative market. We had .com successfully come through. That was towards the end of last year. We have one other company, 1Square, which signaled its intention to list on the alternative market. So if all approvals come through, we will have 2 very soon that we can confirm have been listed on the alternative market, and there's still 8 slots left. As far as your requirements, we do have brokers on the call who may be able to speak to any specific questions that you may have as far as who can advise you on how to move forward in these steps of listing your SME. We have made the requirements a lot more easier, and you may find as we walk through the requirements that some of you already qualify. All that you need is an annual turnover of between 250,000 going up to 20 million kwacha. Some of you may already be in that threshold. You need a minimum of 30 shareholders. Also, of course, you need to convert your business from a private company to a public listed company with PACRA. And of course, our brokers who are on this call are always on hand to assist you and get you to a point where you'll be able to come through to the market as an listed company. One of the things that we've noticed is companies that are listed tend to perform better, not only because of the disclosure requirements that Namnyuka was talking about, which places a higher burden on them for their corporate governance, which ultimately aids in the proper running of their business, but also it gives you a public profile. When you go out, whether it's within the Zambian community or even internationally, whether you're looking for funding, whether you're looking to apply for some sort of an international program, having a stamp of approval essentially from the LuSE saying, I am a publicly listed company, shows that you have the backing of the Zambian community behind you. You can stand tall internationally and say, my people have endorsed me. I'm ready to do business internationally. So the alternative market is a wonderful way for you to raise capital. Essentially, because it's not a debt instrument, it places less of a burden on businesses. We're very much aware of the fact that for SMEs, one of the leading causes, or I'd say one of the leading burdens that they have voiced out against is expensive capital. Debt is expensive, and it places a burden on a growing business. Listing on the Altem gives you the opportunity to invite investors to be part of your journey without placing too much of a burden on you in terms of servicing a debt. Remember, when you list, you are inviting people to be part of your investment journey, and it all feeds into creating wealth creation for Zambia as an entirety. As far as our opportunities on the LuSE, we are able to trade in corporate bonds. Corporate bonds are also another way that you can raise money. Mr. Kabaso labored on this point quite a bit, as well as rights issues. These offer regular income streams for diaspora investors. And again, we do have our brokers on the call who will be able to answer questions as we open up for Q&A shortly. Now, in the interest of time, I will allow my colleagues from ICRA to talk about the role of credit rating agencies in Zambia's capital markets. So colleagues, you may take over and join the call.
Thank you so much, Grace. Good day, everyone. My name is Mohit. I'm one of the group directors for Credit Rating Agency. Let me also share my screen. Yeah. So as we were just talking about the diaspora factors in today's time, let me just give a quick understanding also on the perspective of Zambia and also credit rating perspective on this. So in today's time, I think everyone do understand the concept of credit rating. I think Zambia was having also a backlash where everyone was talking about the default rate of Zambia and how Zambia is becoming a high risk sovereign on this. And how Zambia has jumped back with that, how has that increased the investor confidence is one of the perspective is also the credit rating is very, very important factor to it. And now very proudly to say also in this, now those credit rating services are also available in the Zambian markets directly also, and specifically for the listed entities. Just to give a perspective, ICRA rating agency, we are a SEC licensed credit rating agency having a base in Zambia. But not just in Zambia, we are also are having a head office in UAE. Plus, then we have offices in Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Zambia as well. So, in the current time, what all we have been doing in the market is we have been providing the services to all the listed entities and the private entities also. In the listed entities in today's time, we have almost covered 50% of the listed companies already. Just to name few of them, which were also mentioned before as well, which was CEC, ZCCM, Zambia Sugar, Airtel. We already have solicited and unsolicited reports on all the entities in the market itself, which helps the investors like you to understand what kind of a performance they are doing in today's time. Just to give a quick background about us again, that we are already licensed by SEC. We are also having clearance by Ministry and BIA. This is just to give you the understanding of that we are already in the market and doing the services. why we are doing these services, actually you are the main audience for it. End of the day, the credit ratings are done for the investors to educate them, just to give them the understanding of why there is a confidence in the market and which entity is having the higher chances of fulfilling all their obligations to you. Because end of the day, when we are talking about credit ratings, it is the perspective of showing the strength of the markets, the entities, and overall capital market. So in today's time, we as an entity, what we are focusing is to assign grades, or you can say the ratings, to all the entities in the capital market. In today's time, we have already covered 50%, and our focus is in this year itself, we want to cover at least 100% of all the existing listed entities that are there, and those in the perspective will be on the solicited and unsolicited. So this data is actually for you guys, for the investors, to just have the better understanding how these entities are performing, which are the entities which are having the lower risk of any kind of a default rates. Or default rates, when I say, is not as default to like any of the debts or anything, even for the equity investors, just to understand how these entities are performing and what is my safety on the perspective of investing in those companies. So this is the kind of a reporting and data that we are providing to the market in this time. And just to share you the perspective of why and which all services, or why these services are becoming more and more important to the larger audience as well. Because when investor is coming to the market, let's say you all are planning to coming to the capital market, your first question is always comes is, where all we should invest, which are the entities which are the which can give me a better return, or which are the entities which is my safer returns and is they are holding a lower risk category towards themselves. So those are the places where credit ratings plays a very important role to that. And we as a rating agency are focusing majority like mainly on only on the listed entities over here. So just to give you the few of the names that we are already doing the services to, or we have the data already available, which is already available for the retail and the institutional investors existingly in a portal as well. Just to name, like already named three of them, which is the CEC, the CCM, Airtel. We also are already focusing on the new listings as well, including Clapton Reinsurance. We have on Zambia Re, Zanaco, uh, uh, so we have already covered 50% on that. Now our focus also goes on the debt side as well. So these are just the equity side we are focusing. We are now also focusing on the debt side as well. So the fixed income products, which has been discussed in this call as well, we are focusing on rating them as well. So there also you can make an informed decisions, like how this when you're making any investments on different products, that can help you to make those decisions, which are the products and which are the entities that you feel more secure and feel more confident when you're doing the investments to them. So that is the role of a credit rating agency, that we are focusing on that. So as I was sharing, like we are not just in Zambia, we are in a different jurisdiction within the Africa, and also having an head office in UAE. We understand the African markets on this as well, and having a global, having a multi-current country presence also gives us a larger view. So when we are talking about the diaspora investors, we are understanding the international investors' perspective, like when they are planning to invest in in their home countries as well, or the international markets, on the domestic markets, what kind of risk aspects they're looking. So number one aspects, like just to give you a quick view on that, number one perspective always comes is my investment safe? Like what are the chances of this entity having any kind of a default? Second always comes is, okay, if the returns are low, are there more stable returns to that? So these are the grades that help you, like AAA, double A, triple B, double B, B, triple C, double C, C. So these are the certain grades that's come with the rating perspectives. And when you're doing these ratings, and when you're seeing these ratings associated with these entities, that directly gives you the confidence in them. Like, okay, what are the or like when I'm doing the investments to these particular entities in the equity on the debt side, what are the chances of having a stable returns or having a secure returns with them? Now, additionally, what also we focus on also on them is, as I'm seeing also a couple of questions are coming also on that, the returns perspective. So we are giving a complete detailed analysis on their all aspects, from their business to their management to their financials to, so we also highlight the demons also. So when I said the highlight the demons is, we also highlight the particular risk that are associated with those entities. So as an investor, you have the larger view on them and a pre-existing analysis with them, so you are able to make those informed decisions. So this is just a perspective, like just to showcasing you, we are focusing on all these aspects. So we are focusing on the issuer and the debt side as well. Also, this is more for the institutional investors perspective, but we are also focusing on the ESG side as well, because ESG side also is becoming like a regulation perspective, mandate as well, that all the entities have to focus on it. But we are focusing on all type of entities and the all types of entity and the debt instruments is also. So this gives a better firm decision for the retail and the institutional investors. And end of the day, what are the benefits of holding this credit ratings? It's end of the day, it's an information that the retail investors and the institutional investors are able to gather, and you already have a pre-existing analysis on them. So when you're entering a market, you do not have to dig in every single entity, which one should I invest in, or you don't have to go with the notion of I feel like this entity can go big. You can have the data in place, you can have that information in place before you're doing those investments as well. So there's a certain grade, very easy to say, like they are a triple A or a double A or A or triple B. It's very easy to say, but this gives a direct confidence to you as an investors to understand, okay, what are my chances of my investment being sustainable, and also my investments being secured. So that is the role that we majorly focus on that. And just to give you some of the entities that we have already rated, and this is our perspective of the capital market side. These are the solicited and unsolicited both perspective. These are the already ratings that we have done and the data that is already available with us. So just to give you like an idea on this, like a copper belt, there's also, they have a corporate bond as well. We have done the analysis on that as well. So real estate investments of Zambia, they're an REIT as well. So all this information is already available with us. So this can help you as an investors when you're entering the market, when you're planning your investments. This can provide this information to you. Like when you're entering, you do not have to start from scratch. There is already a pre-existing data in the market now. So you do not have to worry about which are my secured investments or not. This data is already available for the Zambian market now, and you do not have to start from scratch with that. So this is the a major thing that we have provided in the market for now. And we are trying to grow our list to, we are trying to cover all the listed entities within this year. That is our major goal that we are trying to focus at. And this is the information that can help you investors when you are feeling like which are the entities I should focus at. This can be your right answer for that. I can follow the ratings perspective if you're not confident or if you're unsure which are the entities I should be focusing at. So yeah. I'll be stopping here and giving it back to Blaze. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for that intervention. Is Madam Grace still on call?
Hi, Mr. Speedwell. Yes, I am.
Okay, please, you can pick it up and carry on.
All right. Thank you so much. I know in the interest of time, thank you so much to our colleague from ICRA. Thank you for that insightful presentation. We have set aside about 5 to 10 minutes for the Q&A. So we noticed that our CEO, Mr. Kabaso, has tried to answer some of the questions, but for the ones that are burning, we will take 5 burning questions from the chat. If we can just we have members of the LuSE team actually on the call. So for some of them, I will rely on my colleagues just to flesh out some of the answers. We have members of the team from the CSD. CSD is basically the, I would say, engine of the LuSE from the trading desk, and they'll be able to answer some of the questions that I've seen pop up. The main one, or I'll say the first one that I will tackle, is the issue of unclaimed dividends. So as far as the LuSE goes, when it comes to your dividend payments, they're actually processed by entities called transfer secretaries. In Zambia at the moment, we have 2 transfer secretaries currently that are handling your dividend payments. We have CorpServe as well as ShareTrack. Now, depending on the company that you have invested in, these companies are sitting under different transfer secretaries handling the processing of dividends. So in an instance where you have unclaimed dividends, according to this question, there are dividends from 2022 that are yet to be claimed. Unpaid dividend, the question is from Saili Jere. Unpaid dividend from 2022 to 2025 from some companies. How are we going to get that money? So my first piece of advice would be, number one, reach out to us. We do have a WhatsApp customer care line. It's +26 077 828 3516. I'm typing it in the chat so that we can actually dig a little bit deeper, because we do need to know, number one, which company are we dealing with? The companies that have not paid out your dividends or the outstanding dividends, we now need to also drill down and find out which transfer secretary is handling the dividend payment for that specific company. Once we've identified the transfer secretary, we will assist you to get in touch with the relevant transfer secretary and aid in finding, or let me say, tracing the problem as to why the dividends were not paid out. So Saili Jere, I've put in the customer care line. It is a WhatsApp number, so please reach out and we will be able to assist you with the next steps. I've had quite a number of questions coming through about, is the recording going to be made available? Yes, it will. We will make this recording available, and we will also share a copy of the recording via our social media pages as well as on YouTube, and the link will be shared. Brenda, I've taken note of your comment. Please also list the name of the 2 transfer secretaries. I am typing that just now. Okay. I'm looking at it from a last in, first answered basis. Matthews Monalesa. I opened my LuSE account on my own without a broker a long time ago. Since then, I've placed trades through different brokers, and I have now managed to open access with Hobbiton. I just wanted to check, when I place trades through different brokers, do they already have my account details? Okay. So in this instance, I'll use the app as an example. So when you're signing up for the app, when you enter your NRIC number, the system will be able to check and see if you've got an existing CSD number. In an event where you are trading through a broker that has not yet been integrated on the LuSE mobile app, you will be able to select any of the already integrated brokers and trade that way. In terms of Hobbiton already having your details, that is also another aspect where our CSD team or the trading desk can come in and assist you through that same WhatsApp customer care number that I've outlined, as well as the customer service email that I am typing through here. You can send an email request should you have a specific request where you would want to merge. Maybe you have a CSD number that's already in the system and you would like to merge 2 CSD numbers so that you only have one under your profile. The CSD team will be able to assist you with this. With regards to the mobile number, Vidrika, thank you for sharing the transfer agent's detail. With regards to the question on the mobile app, we are working with regulators on how we can address this, particularly because your mobile number is a key aspect of your KYC, which is your Know Your Customer regulatory requirement. So we are in consultation with the regulators. I think as we upgrade the app, you will see a lot more of these rollouts coming out, because we do realize that the diaspora community is a very important part of the retail investor community, and we're trying to make the experience a lot more seamless for you. So please look out for more updates regarding this, but we are working on this aspect, just to make it more seamless for you. Then I've seen this question has come up quite a bit, also with regards to the bonds feature on the app. When will it be activated? So again, not to sound like a broken record, we are in consultation with our regulators on how best we can make this work and have a more seamless experience for our investors. So at the risk of sounding like a broken record, keep an eye out, watch this space. We are working on improving your investor experience almost on a daily basis. Okay, so I'm just trying to scroll just to see if I've missed out on anything. Okay, I think the last question that I will accept is to do with sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through. I've seen it's a duplication again. But yes, I think I have addressed the burning questions with regards to the bond feature, as well as with regards to the registered number. That seems to be popping up quite a bit. So the best I can say is watch the space. We're working on improving the app, and we will be able to assist with that. I've seen a question. Are there any plans to integrate transfer funds from banks such as Zambian to the LuSE app? Yes, this is already enabled. So what you will do on the part where you select deposit, there is a part where you select card and it will take you to DPO. So DPO is our payment, I would say, gateway that we're using. So you will be able to move money directly from your bank to the app. This is already enabled. You just need to have your Visa card nearby so that you can enter your details through DPO, and this can be done. So I think we have gone a little bit over time, and from here, I'm not able to see any other burning questions that we may have missed, but the customer service email, please keep it on tap. Then with regards to broker fees, Mr. Speedwell, if you allow me, I have seen that we have a few brokers on the call, and we may be able to get a few answers from them because different brokers have different fees. And in terms of performance stats of various brokers, I think that one I can direct to the respective brokers. So we will share the list through the High Commission. Of course, the link for you to be able to check out who the brokers are, I'm just pinning it in the chat so that you can see the full list of brokers as well as their contact details. Just a moment as I pin it in the chat. Okay, I have shared the link. So, Mr. Speedwell, in the interest of time, I think at this point, we can close the Q&A session. I will direct questions with regards to specific broker fees to the respective brokers. I have shared the link in the chat, and you will be able to see that directly from our website. So, Mr. Speedwell, over to you, and thank you from the LuSE team.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanations and the interventions that have been given on this call. And therefore, I'm going to call Her Excellency, the High Commissioner. I hope she's still around. She's quite busy with some other meeting. I hope she's still on the call. To give us a concluding statement. Thereafter, the CEO will call him again, if he is around as well, to give his concluding remarks, and then we'll close the meeting. Your Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Mopuchi, Mr. Speedwell, and apologies, Her Excellency has had to drop off the call for another engagement, but she left some remarks and would like to thank the Lusaka Securities Exchange for this opportunity, for this wonderful presentation, which has been very insightful, very informative. And we look forward to having future engagements with everyone. We also would like to thank everyone who managed to get onto the call. We appreciate the questions, and we hope that you also equally found this very informative. I would like to thank you, CEO, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, and the team for providing this platform and giving us this chance to interact and engage. And we also, again, we look forward to future engagements with you. With these few words, I would like to call on the CEO to also offer some remarks. Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, Mr. Kabaso also had to drop off the call. He had another commitment. But on behalf of the team from the Lusaka Securities Exchange, thank you so much for sparing the time to listen in. Thank you to the broker representatives who were on the call. We appreciate that you took the time out to be with us on this call. And I'm sure from some of the deliberations here, we hope that you will be able to pick up some of these conversations and see where the diaspora mind is at as far as how to curate their investment packages. From the chat section, I think it has also given us as a regulator a very good barometer of what we need to work on. P1 being the mobile numbers to make sure that everybody can be able to access, as well as the bonds. We can see that there is a demand, and we will commit to trying to get that sorted as soon as possible. So to everybody who spared the time, we know it's a busy time during the week to spare an hour in your evening. Thank you so much. And we look forward to interacting with every single one of you via our social media pages. As mentioned, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are also on Twitter, as well as on YouTube. All you need to do is search for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Additionally, the contact details for the transfer secretaries have been shared in this chat, but we will try to consolidate everything for you and have an informative sheet, shared with all the necessary contact details just to assist you, as well as the link for the brokerage firms. So thank you once again, and we look forward to interacting with you as you invest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think on that score, would
Thank
like
you very
to
much.
close this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Night.
Thank you. Good night.
Zikomo.
Zikomo, Zikomo.
Zikomo. Salumba. Bye.
Zikomo.
Thank you.
Eni sha.
Thank you.
Karombo. Thanks. All right.
Thank you. Don't forget to send the recorded the recorded program. Some of us who joined late.